Olympic torch relay in Hong Kong. Protests on the sidelines of the relay. And Stephen Gan sentenced to community service.
Good evening. Olympic frenzy swept through Hong Kong today. The Olympic flame was carried by 119 torchbearers across different parts of the territory, on foot, on board boats and on horseback. As Mona Lam reports, the local relay was the 20th leg of the flame's global journey.
The symbolic flame came alive. Chief Executive Donald Tsang raised the torch, and so began the Hong Kong leg of the Olympic torch relay outside the Cultural Center in Tsim Sha Tsui at 10:30 a.m. The first torch bearer, Olympic windsurfing gold medalist Li Laishan, also commonly called the Queen of the Wind by her fans.
This is an honor for me to be a first torch relay bearer, and today, unfortunately, the weather is not so nice, and I was worried about the road is a bit slippery. But I know I'm going smoothly.
One by one, they each ran for about 2 minutes along the relay route. Number 4 down the line was actor Andy Lau, who made the turn from Salisbury Road onto Nathan Road. Cheers of "Go, Go China" echoed through the area. Some of those who were there to share the moment were ecstatic when they saw their favorite singers and movie stars. And there were quite a few of them chosen for the honor. But it was Kelly Chen who sent the crowd into a frenzy. She said afterwards that she would keep the commemorative torch burning outside her own home. As the flame made its way through, some in the crowd sang the national anthem. Some of the supporters said they will follow the torch throughout the day. The Olympic flame was then taken by car to the Tsing Ma Bridge, where the second stretch of the local relay began. Dignitaries from the business sector and outstanding athletes carried the torch across the landmark. 14-year-old ping pong champion Chu Chung-hei is the youngest among the 119 torchbearers. The flame was then again taken by car, this time to Shatin, where it went on a dragon boat for the first time ever. The torchbearer, swimming champ Si Hengyu.
This group of Changsha residents came to Shek Mu to support the torch relay. They performed a dragon dance while the flame traveled on a dragon boat.
One spectator showed up with a mini torch, and she said the $2,900 she spent on it was worth it.
This one is the real one, the same as the real one.
The flame then arrived at the Shatin racecourse. It was passed on to Nelson Yip, Hong Kong's equestrian representative in the upcoming Paralympics. The territory's Olympic equestrian hopeful Kenneth Chang then used a torch to light up a cauldron at the racecourse. Mona Lam, TVB News.
The torch relay continued on Hong Kong Island in the afternoon through Central and Wan Chai. The run ended at Golden Bauhinia Square with a brief ceremony before the sacred flame continued its world tour to Macau and around different parts of China. Emma Jones reports.
A spectacular water display from a fireboat as the vessel carrying the torchbearers crossed Victoria Harbour. Former swimming and rowing champion Fenella Ng proudly raised the torch. Sharing the glory was conductor Yip Wing Si. Onto shore, and it was torchbearer number 105, the president of the Legislative Council, Rita Fan, who took it through much of Central past Ledgecombe. In Wan Chai, the usual logjam along Hennessy Road was cleared about an hour before the relay reached there. Normal traffic resumed without a hitch afterwards. Flag-waving crowds packed the pavements, their cheering encouraged by the celebrities transporting the flame. Most of them wore the colour of the flag, though some more elaborately than others. Some companies allowed their workers to take the afternoon off work to support the relay.
And I think I love China,
and I wish the Olympic will be successful.
About a third of today's torchbearers were members of the local sporting world. One of them, Chuk Kwai, who was among the best Hong Kong athletes in her earlier days, also ran with the torch when it last came to Hong Kong more than 40 years ago. Today's feat ended just before 5 p.m. when Olympic cyclist Wong Kam Po took it into Golden Bohemia Square. From Hong Kong, the Olympic torch will go to Macau, Hainan and Guangzhou, and it will travel through at least 100 Chinese cities before ending back in Beijing in August for the Olympic Games. Emma Jones, TVB News.
Well, traffic along parts of the relay route ground to a virtual standstill during the torch run. While the streets were lined with people waving flags to welcome the torchbearers, there were those who found it an unnecessary inconvenience. Jane An reports.
It was one big party in Tsim Sha Tsui this morning. MTR exits were packed with people who had trouble getting out and onto the streets. It was shoulder to shoulder along much of Nathan Road. One man grumbled that he couldn't make his way to work. Many of those who were hoping for a glimpse of the Olympic torch saw nothing more than the back of the person in front. MTR staff had to introduce crowd control measures. Confused travelers inundated police officers who were trying to keep everything and everyone in order. Some had to show their identity cards before they were allowed to get through. Getting close to the route was tricky, but to actually get a view was even harder. And it was all too much for one woman. An hour before the relay started, the northbound lane of Nathan Road was already closed to traffic. It was bumper to bumper on the southbound lane with a tailback all the way to Prince Edward Road. Many of the shops simply closed for the morning, and those that stayed open, among them this woman's eatery, had far fewer customers than usual.
Road closures and a heavy police presence are necessary to ensure security along the route, but this has also spelled bad news for shops along one of the busiest thoroughfares in Hong Kong. Jane An, TVB News.
And there were protests and scuffles on the sidelines of the torch relay, but none actually disrupted the torch bearers. Calls for respect for human rights by members of Frontier in Tsim Sha Tsui. Joining them were other pan-democrats and trade unionists.
But what, of course, is disappointing to us is that the promises made in Beijing when they were bidding for the Games in 2001 for democracy in China and for human rights improvement in China have not been honored.
A vain attempt by University of Hong Kong philosophy student Christina Chan to raise the flag of Tibet off Nathan Road along the relay route. She and her supporters tried to barge through a police cordon. They were soon surrounded by hundreds of people waving the Chinese flag. Police separated the two crowds. The Tibetan flag barely saw the light of day before Chan and her group were bundled into a police vehicle. A few yards away, a television cameraman was involved in a scuffle with police. The argument again was whether he had stepped past the cordon. Police warned him not to push forward because there were children standing in the front. In the chaos, the cameraman collapsed on the ground. Further down Nathan Road, supporters of the Games far outnumbered protesters. In the midst were members of the Hong Kong Alliance in support of patriotic democratic movements of China, the April 5th Action Group, the Frontier and Confederation of Trade Unions, who were in a shouting match with those giving them the thumbs down. They shouldn't spoil this happy day in Hong Kong, one man protested. Legislator turned demonstrator Lee Chuk-yan, though, said they have the right to state their stance in a free society. A lone protester tried to make his point about Tibet, was jeered at by a crowd who came to celebrate the day. Police had to form a circle around him for his safety. He was later escorted away by police. from the torch relay, American actress Mia Farrow kept her promise to stay peaceful in calling on China to do more in the Darfur region in Sudan.
Persuade Khartoum to stop attacking civilians, persuade Khartoum to admit the full deployment of the 26,000 peacekeepers.
Failing to do that, she said, would make the Summer Games this year a genocide Olympics.